be sneaky blunt in putting the fire truck there, just to remind people that we are looking for some large-scale capital projects down the line, and that's what a little bit of this saving of the debt was going to be for. This continues to outline our policy goals and the plan right there with all of the expenditure targets, debt targets, free cash targets, and our projected operating budget over the next few years through the life of this year's plan. Then I outlined the factors as stated in the capital improvement policy as to what we have been looking for in the creation of this plan, the timeline, and then a number of our projects that had been conditionally approved by the capital improvement plan committee over the course of our 2 meetings in December and January. That's all of them right there. We'll look at the actual chart in a second, and it breaks it out into pie chart. Then as this plan is building on other plans, our goals did not change severely because a lot of our problems are still what they are. It's the aging infrastructure, it's the problematic resources for our public safety first responders. I'm going to let Sandy kind of talk about the debt opportunity that we have right now, because one of the things that I'm learning that I have to learn a ton about is municipal debt. So let Sandy talk about that for a little bit.
May I ask a very, I'm sorry to interrupt here. Is there an internet available this right now? Because I have no connection.
You can't get
See
on the
the
Wi-Fi?
Hub 1767.
No, I have it, but it usually goes on. I was just trying to get.
It's not up? Are you on?
I see no connectivity.
I am on.
You see yourself on?
I am on.
Yep.
On town Wi-Fi.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. I apologize. I just wanted to confirm because I thought I had all of this here.
You haven't had the problem the last couple times.
No, I never had, and this is very odd because nothing is connecting, not even I should be saying this here.
Yeah, my phone says no service.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking the question.
Yeah, I'm connected on everything.
Okay. I don't mean to interrupt the meeting, it's just that I had a lot of this material on this computer and I was hoping I could see it here. So,
We can.
no problem.
Do you wanna print some of those off? Would that be helpful? No.
No, don't worry about it. We can view it
I'm
here.
good that way.
Want me to
Answering
run
for
over
myself.
and get the PD internet?
I'm sorry?
I can run over and get the internet from the police
You're welcome.
if they're over
No,
there.
that's okay, don't worry about it. Thank you. Thanks for checking. So apologies, go ahead.
Okay. So, in our debt for the past many years, we've been paying off, for a multi-purpose loan that was taken out, and we've been paying down $180,000 a year on this. This was for road, improvements, and everything. FY '23, so in April of this year, we'll be making the last payment on that. So that frees up $180,000 worth of debt. The goal is not to put it in the general fund, but to keep it as debt, because under our policies, we need to maintain a certain percentage of debt. It affects our bond ratings when we go.
3%.
3%, when we go to borrow money. So the idea for FY '24 is we have this, I'm gonna call it extra 180,000, really not extra. But because we're looking to purchase a fire truck in FY '25, we would be using a lot of that money for that. So for FY '24, the thought process, and I know this was, Ryan's thought when he was here too, is to use that money to pay down existing debt, or, you know, borrow for something else, where we really don't have anything else to borrow for this year. What we've been discussing is using $100,000 of that money to pay another $100,000 down on the fire truck that we're already paying on now. There's still $350,000 owed on that. And we pay down $50,000 a year on that. So that would then bring that down to $200,000 after FY '24 that would be owed on that. And then we were talking about taking another approximately $50,000 to pay for the,
Main Street repave.
the Main Street Fire Station repaving. Instead of borrowing for it, we would just use it as a placeholder, so that those funds are still there and available for FY '25. This is a one-time deal. If that money goes back into general fund and we put that $50,000 towards something, we will never get it back. And our debt limit will be, our debt optimal limit would be down below the 3%, and that would affect our borrowing in the future.
So a quick question, I'm a bit confused here.
Mm-hmm.
Are you saying that the debt is, the debt that we're, paying off this year
Mm-hmm.
is $180,000?
The principal
It's the
was-
principal?
Yep.
Okay, so once that is paid.
Yep.
So I'm assuming you're paying both principal and interest on this year. So
Right.
the total is something a little larger than that.
Right.
But once that is off the books, you basically have the potential to get another $180,000 worth
Loan.
of a loan.
Right.
The interest rate, however, is significantly different.
Right. And that comes out of general fund, so that is not part of the,
I understand that, but out of general funds, you still have to account in terms of what you're
Right,
paying
for-
for interest.
right.
And so therefore, you have higher interest on the same amount of borrowing.
Yes, we do.
The question is with the finances as we are at this point in time, you probably are gonna be strapped a little bit about, with regards to increasing it so that you can still pay off, so that you can still take off on a loan for $180,000. The question I therefore have is are you really truly able to get $180,000 without strapping the town for more money just to pay the interest? Or will you therefore be forced to take a smaller amount, let's say for example $150,000 truly instead of the $180,000?
That's what we are, that's 150 is the number we're working with.
Because of this year.
right,
Okay, now I
Because
get it.
of variables or,
right.
like, we didn't really sit down and figure out what the exact number would be, cause this is still a strategic plan.
Yep.
And we obviously don't want to spend too much time diving into things that could then be just kind of thrown to the side.
Okay.
So right here and right now, we're proposing $150,000 of usages. $100,000 on the fire truck that we still owe on, and $50,000 to cover the Main Street
So the next
repaving.
question I would have for you is the current debt that you have on the fire truck,
Mhm.
which is $350,000, that remains on the principal, because you
That's
keep
on the principal, yes.
That's, okay. The interest rate that you're paying on that
Yep.
versus what you would have to pay for the new fire truck coming in a couple of years,
Mm-hmm.
do you have an attractive enough, interest on it that it makes it maybe questionable as to why would you want to pay off a low interest rate loan?
When we took out this loan for the fire truck, we took it out as a, they call it a ban. We renew this loan every year. Instead of taking out a 5-year or a 10-year loan like we did on the library roof, or we will on the school roof. This was done as a 1-year loan, at the time, so that, because at the time, interest rates were starting to go down. I mean, we took this out in 2017. So interest rates were starting to go down at that time.
Yeah.
And there is always the possibility of the interest rates going up, but
Which they have in this past year.
exactly. So by refinancing, we have saved a ton of money over the first few years of this loan. This year is gonna be
But you're
a
getting hit
different
now.
story.
Okay, got it. So it
But-
is really, it's renewable every year, so regardless of, it makes sense therefore, you're probably
Right.
getting hit with a higher interest
We're
anyway.
going to get hit,
Alright.
yes,
I think-
and, you know, having $100,000 less owed on it is
Sure.
definitely gonna keep the amount of interest we pay down.
Okay, you've explained it.
Okay.
Now I understand. I was not aware that you had this renewable,
Yeah.
loan, so that makes perfect sense now.
Yep.
Okay, so that's $100,000, and I'm sorry, remind me again, the $50,000?
$50,000.
Paving in front
Oh,
of
the
the fire
50,000
station.
is
The
for the
fire
fire
station paving
yeah.
that we had discussed as part of the capital plan, we would take that and just pay for that way, but it kinda holds the money there for FY 25 if we need to borrow
Gotcha.
that. That does still leave 30 grand approximately hanging, we've talked about, we can move that back into the general fund. 30 grand one way or the other is not gonna affect our debt ratio very much. We've also, you know, thrown other options around of, you know, paying more. The paving might come in at 60,000, we don't have quotes on that yet, so,
I
there
think
is a little
50 is
wiggle
high for
room.
what's out there.
Yeah,
I mean, DPW is gonna do the prep, yes?
Yeah.
50's pretty high.
okay. I know nothing about that, so.
I also don't know much about paving.
I know a lot about paving.
You think for what the chief is,
If he's
Quoting.
doing all the way around that station, he's 50. If he's just doing the front apron, there's no way that's 50, unless he's doing something.
No, he said he's doing the side too.
I mean, when we do fire stations, we do, normally a road is paved with a base course and a top course. And when you do a fire station, you do 2 base courses and a top course, because the heavy equipment
Right.
sinks in. You may be doing that.
Yeah,
Department is requesting $50,000 in FY 24 for the repaving of Main Street Fire Station front apron and side parking lot. The amount requested is based on DPW superintendent, well, superintend is what he wrote here,
Yeah.
estimate. The front apron is deteriorating with cracks and parts of it are sinking into the ground. Half the side parking lot is not even paved anymore and is dirt.
So there may be requirements for them to even go further down than just the base coat and just
Yeah.
do
I mean,
even
and-
further work for drainage and other things.
They're not doing drainage.
No, I don't mean drains, it's just so that you put a
Yeah,
better
pitch it.
stone base or something
Yeah.
underneath there.
I don't know.
Okay.
I know if I was given 50 grand, I'd make it work.
Alright. So that's the debt thing.
So on that 30, the library was, thought were being underfunding themselves. Did you wanna consider changing that? I love it.
No, and the only reason I'm saying that is as follows. So I'm part of the CPC. As a matter of fact, I made a bit of a faux pas the other day, when we had the meeting. I have to get in touch with forgot her name.
Kristen?
Connie?
Connie, thank you.
You're welcome.
For some reason in my mind, we were thinking not doing it, and I think what's stuck in my mind, we were not doing the extra, and then I kind of like generalized it. So she actually came to the CPC because she's looking for funding. And at that point in time, she was actually looking for, I suggested that they also look for funding for the 6,000. Not to say that she would, and it's appropriate for her to go ahead and work with the CPC, because there's even some question as to whether or not that's something the CPC would fund under the criteria that they have. However, the comment came from the CPC itself, that the library has significant amount of other funds.
Trust.
They do.
Trusts.
I don't know if it's significant, is it?
20,000 here, 15,000 there, like,
It's-
so
it's-
nothing crazy, but enough that could assist
Exactly.
them with the amount of money they're seeking.
Hmm.
And so I believe that there's other funding sources that they can look for. And the 6,000, which is what they came for,
Right.
is certainly something that we should be able to fund. And let's look at other opportunities that the town really potentially needs. That's just my position.
Hmm.
When I attended the library trustee meeting approximately a month ago, a conversation was had about the trust funds, cause a lot of them have red tape. So you have to use it specifically for X. And much like all of the other departments, the library trustees are not staffed to the max. So essentially what they asked me for is assistance in figuring out how to use these trust funds.
Mhm.
So, and that is not something I have gotten around to quite yet, but it is something that I am thinking about. And-
But I would suggest that let's let them do the due diligence on that, because
Yeah.
there are funding sources
Mhm.
that are potentially available from that perspective. I have nothing against the library, totally contrary, I'm a big proponent for library. My wife was I'm a librarian herself, so I do support this here, so I wanna go on record in that. The point, however, I think is that we have other places where we need to potentially look into. And they only asked for the 6,000.
Yeah, but it was an uninformed ask.
Well,
In my
and-
opinion.
and
That's
beyond
it's their
that-
responsibility to come here and
Sure.
provide a informed
And
request.
that would be why I would hesitate to give them more, because it was uninformed, and if, come to us with, you know, all the details,
Yeah.
that's what we ask of people.
True.
Is that a proposal to remove the 6 or just
No.
that, or just backing up the
No.
fact that we
If
did not
anything, I need
include
to
the
go back
30?
to, or I'm gonna ask if, because I don't have a contact for Connie. I need to go back to Connie and say, you know, don't go to CPC for this year, for the 6, because you don't need to.
Yeah, they got it. We already said yes.
Sending you Connie's email right now.
If you could shoot me that,
That's what I'm doing.
that'd be great, thank you.
Oh, I only have Morgan. I thought I had Connie.
Yeah, I'm still not connecting.
Alright, never mind.
They have a whole email called hubtrustees@gmail.com. That's all of them.
I know she works at Fitchburg State,
Yes.
so I could probably get it through her email there.
She had noted that she was going on a number of trips, so,
Okay,
yeah, perfect. All right. Let's get back up here. That's the timeline. This is pretty much just a update of last year stating that there is a debt opportunity in moving forward and that our infrastructure is making it difficult for several departments to actually propose capital improvement plans because they need so much. Right down here, right here is where the actual chart will go. My apologies for not having it in there as of yet. But here is the chart with what we had spoken about. Since we last spoke, we did, after speaking with the select board and the finance committee and doing the forecast and realizing a lot of the deficit numbers and that we would likely need to use one-time free cash to supplement the budget, we did jump the number over here back to 380 in hopes of being able to give the additional road repair their full request, just because of the overarching commitment to our infrastructure and to keeping the roads and bridges at a certain level. So that's what we have here. We have the $100,000 for additional road repair, $100,000 for the DPW garage roof. It actually, I'm hesitant to take money back, but our lowest quote that was reasonable came in at $128,000. The 55 for the, I believe it's an F-150 now, right? For the director's vehicle.
It's a 150?
I thought when he came back the second time it was an F-150.
No,
What?
250.
Oh, it's still a 250?
Instead of a 350.
Right.
Oh, okay. I did get one question from somebody outside of the committee as to if he's not gonna be plowing and it's not gonna be a work truck per se, why does he need the 250? But that's his request. I don't wanna step on his toes.
Cause then he could tow.
Okay, right, yeah.
The $100,000 for the ambulance 2 replacement, the $50,000 out of the rollover debt for the Main Street repaving, the $6,000 for the architect engineering assistance, and just to make it even, I brought it down from 20 to 19 for town office IT. Was looking at the numbers and it seemed to work out. And I figured if there was anybody that I would cut from without actually feeling bad, it was myself. So. So that brings us to, speaking about free cash, our free cash certified total was $806,289. Our free cash used at the October town meeting was $97,915.40. These are nice round numbers. We don't have information from the state. We don't have information from the schools. I am hoping that we do not need to use money from free cash in our operating budget. And at that point, that would be a conversation with the finance committee, the select board, and the budget at that time. But for right now, I'm using the nice round number of $100,000 to offset the operating budget, $100,000 into our reserves. The FY24 recommended capital, which we would likely vote on tonight, of $380,000, bring our total of free cash usage to $677,915.40, leaving a free cash surplus of $128,373 for hopefully rollover next year to use to take a large dent out of one of those big ticket capital items. Right here it outlines where we are versus our targets, and we are approximately $90,000 short of the capital expenditure target. But as I had stated in the past, ARPA had taken quite the bite out of our capital improvement projects. There are a number of departments in our municipality that, frankly, it would be foolish to put too much money into the infrastructure that they're currently in. And there are a number of different issues at hand. Further considerations is just remembering that there is other funding out there, Holden Hospital account, the CPA funds, general fund supplements, town reserves, chapter 90 funds, grants. And then right here I included all of the requests for those interested in some riveting nighttime reading. Like,
supporting document.
yeah, and that's about what short of putting the actual charts into the plan, that is what I have here to present to the CIPC this evening.
Quite the cover.
Thank you. Yeah.
Looks like a scratch ticket we use. Plan.
Yeah, we may need those.
Yeah.
So do we need a vote?
We would need a vote to approve the capital improvement plan, and then I would bring it forward to the select board and finance committee.
I thought we had voted on that the last meeting, but I guess because this is the actual
Yeah,
written
we
plan.
approved, we approved the
we did
numbers.
The spreadsheet.
Yeah, okay.
So I make a motion, we approve the capital improvement plan dated 2024 to 2028 as presented this evening.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? None? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Perfect. I will send out the final version once I get it all in there. It's too large to send, so it'll just be a link to the,
Oh, to the website.
town's Google Drive.
Yeah. When will this be presented to the select board?
A
On the
week from
20th.
today.
Sorry?
A week from today.
Okay. Good. I mean, I think this is, I think it's a well thought out, considering what we have.
It was well drafted, thank you.
Considering what we have, it's what we could do.
Right.
I was
Yeah.
very cavalier in my use of fire truck pictures. So,
Everybody
like
likes the fire
pictures.
truck.
Yeah.
And I think that makes a lot of sense.
I
Put
like the
it there.
building behind it.
Yeah. Did you?
We need to
Do
get
you
a
really?
We need to get a Dalmatian now.
yeah.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
if no one else has any business, I guess that's all I have for us this evening.
Okay, anybody else have anything?
Will there be another requirement for any meeting, beyond this year?
Not till next year.
Next fall?
This coming fall? Absolutely,
Well,
whenever that is. Okay, great, excellent. Good job, everyone.
all right,
I'll put a motion for us to adjourn.
Second.
all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very
And,
much.